rambling about nothing. This is a Blind Math Podcast. I'm Zach. We're here with Zero, and we were talking about estrogen and why men have estrogen. It's because sometimes we don't convert it to testosterone very well. But I wanted to talk to you, Zero, specifically about like misogyny.
Why misogyny?
Well, I mean, there's no girl here now, so we can talk about it frankly. Okay. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I wanted to talk to you about it because we have that song, Too Many Fucks.
Yeah.
In case you guys don't know, which you probably don't, this song, like the lyrics are like, the world has too many fucks. Let's give less of a fuck. And then like Zero has a verse that's like, I will fuck you in the morning, fuck you in the evening, fuck you late at night. World has too many fucks. Right?
Yeah.
Approximately. And like you say you're gonna fuck her now, fuck her later, and then you say I'm gonna fuck you, hoe, right?
I can't wait to fuck you later, hoe.
That's right.
That's right. But I don't know. I don't think that's a misogynistic song at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lael, who is our bassist, and she also happens to be a female, kind of rolls her eyes at that one, like at the lyrics to that song. I mean, she enjoys playing it, you know, but.
Well, I mean, I think that I don't think I specified a gender. I could be fucking anything.
You said can't wait to fuck you later, hoe.
Guy can't be a hoe.
Man, that's such a cop out.
That's a serious question. Like, I really don't think that's a misogynistic at all. And
I guess a guy.
It's not even like, but it's not like I said I'm gonna rape you in the morning, rape you in the evening, rape you late at night.
Yeah, that would be different.
That'd be
really different.
If she wants to fuck and I want to fuck, then we're fucking.
Then you're fucking. That's right.
Fucking. See how that works?
Yeah.
Like I have songs that probably are way more misogynistic or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
what?
Well, I'm working on a song right now that's like it's like over the top to prove the point that it's stupid. It's like kind of like it's so misogynistic that it's a parody of the fact that so much rap music is dominated by, you know,
by men
talking about females sucking their dicks.
So can you give us a little tidbit of how the song goes?
I'm trying to think of it. It's like, all I want in this life is these bad bitches. Bring it up, break it down, baby, do my wishes. Shit like
do
that.
Do more wishes?
No, do my wishes.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Yeah. And the hook is kind of like a chick, she's singing, and she's like, am I bad enough for you? Tell me, am I bad enough for you?
So is it, you actually have a girl doing it?
Yeah, I have a girl doing it.
Oh, true?
Yeah.
Who is the girl?
It is Shayla. Do you know Shayla? No.
Maybe.
She B-girl. She's super cool.
That's cool.
You should all know Shayla.
Is she from the Cypher crew or whatever?
Yeah, she is. But she actually went to the School of Music for a while. Mm-hmm. And so she's really talented singer.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, so last night I went to Venice Beach.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, Tarzan had been trying to get me to go for a really long time.
Yeah.
And on Thursday, Kayla was like, Zach, you want to go to Menace this week? And I was like, oh, I don't know. She's like, come to Menace. Like, we'll all go to Menace. I'm going to go. Dory's going to go.
Oh, nice.
Rhodey's going to go. And like all these people are going to go. And obviously Tarzan's going to go. He goes every week. Yeah. And I haven't been there in years, like almost 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, like when I went there like 4 years ago, it was at the Engine Room.
Yeah.
There was like nothing really there. It's just you walked in and like there was a dude DJing and people on the dance floor.
True that.
There was not like titties popping out all over the place. Like there is now. Like it was just like normal, like a lot of ugly people, you know what I mean? Like, and now like it's like fucking going to the Electric Daisy Music Carnival or whatever.
Well, I don't know. My whole thing about that is like, I don't know. Like,
you like
Menace is not really the type of club for me, because it's like the chicks really can't dance that well.
Yeah.
And the only people in the club that can dance well are the gay dudes.
Yeah, I did see there was a fair amount of gay dudes.
Not that I have a problem with gay dudes being in the club. Like they're super hilarious.
I mean, you
actually,
complimented them. You said that they can dance well. You know, that's a good thing.
I mean, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I know what you mean. Like a lot of the people in there cannot dance. That is very true. Dance. I felt weird like trying to dance normally in there around a lot of.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if I can. I mean, I don't think I'm an especially good dancer, but I feel like I'm adequate.
I have a PSA to all of the white girls of America.
Please.
You see, this is where the massage
all right, here's
comes in.
Dr. Zero giving a PSA. Dun 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 dun. Oh wait, I guess President Zero.
Yeah, President Zero. Yeah. If you're dancing and you're trying to like dance and be sexy, stop trying so hard. Damn it. Just move your hips.
Yeah.
Like if you're not moving your hips, you're not really dancing.
Just let the fat jiggle. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like don't shake your back, shake your hips.
Yeah, I mean that really is the main thing that people have to do.
Yeah.
I
mean, even if you can't dance, like if you can't dance, don't try and do fancy shit too.
Yeah, exactly.
Just just stick to something basic, like a left to right motion.
You really don't have to dance amazing.
At least be like enjoyable. Like you do not try and make up moves. Do not try and do like weird body vibrations. It's just gonna make me walk away.
I mean, sometimes I like it when people are a little offbeat. Sometimes. Like when they kind of are like in beat and then they go a little off and then they go back in. I mean, you know what I mean?
You can go off beat and go back on beat, but just don't make dancing enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. Like you can tell when someone's trying really hard to dance, right? Like in their head, they're thinking, all right, move your arm 1, 2, 3. Move my right arm 1, 2, 3. Move my foot 1, 1, 1. You know what I mean? It's just like I know what you're saying. Like just move your butt back and forth. Maybe your head. Maybe let bob your head too if you want. That's the only two things you really got to do is move your butt and maybe your head. Your hands are really like getting fancy. Like you can seriously keep your hands to your side and like no one will notice.
You can't. Don't listen to that.
Well, I mean, it helps if you move your arms, obviously, but it's like you don't really need to.
Dude, you're gonna look like that Charlie Brown character that only like bobs his head to the left and the right, and he has his arms like straight down.
Or like the goth kids from South Park.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Maybe you should move your arms a little bit.
But I don't know.
But the hips are the most important.
The hips are definitely where everything is happening, and I mean like. Don't be like if you're in a club, just relax, and don't do what Zach did, which was try and talk to guys at clubs.
What?
I'm just
I mean, I talked to Tarzan. I try to talk to girls, but like I'm just so terrible at talking to people at clubs because the music's so loud. I have to like shout at them. Like I was like, "Hello, my name is Zach," and they're like, "What?" I'm like, hello, my name is Zach. They're like, what? And I'm like, I heard you're Tarzan's friend.
That's definitely a problem with clubs. Like, I can definitely give you, say, everyone experiences that to a certain degree.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not that good at, like, all the people, like, the social butterflyness. Like,
I don't know. It's really hard to do that at Menace. Menace is just a weird club because, first of all, it's Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
And for all it's like a weird collection of people at Menace. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not like they're all, like, they're from different, like, walks social class, walks of life. Yeah. It's just like the whoever likes EDM music.
Right,
heads out there. You know, there's some black people out there.
Yeah, there's gay people. There's hipsters. There's bros. There's everything.
It's a weird.
There's not
mix.
really lawyers though, but like by the way, if there's anyone who's listening who's not from Tallahassee, Menace Beach is like probably the most popular house band in Tallahassee. They play a show every week somewhere. I mean, lately it's been the Sidebar.
Oh, well, it's not a band. It's like an entertainment group.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing. Like they have like digital turntables and they play like beats that they make throughout the week and all that stuff.
Nah, it's not their beats.
Oh, it's all. Oh, I thought like I know they use.
They're DJs, man. They're spinning people's.
Oh, I knew they did that some. I thought they made their own too, though.
They might, but
really,
but the most, yeah, nah, they're not making their own. Like that'd be way different. Like if they're like that would be a performance. You know, if like there are people who do EDM performances, but they're not performing. They're spinning records.
Right.
There's a big difference.
Interesting, man.
Yeah, because they're just like blending, you know, like they'll blend songs together and they'll make their own mix. Like there's a performance element to that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's never going to be the same twice. And like, you know, depending on the software you have, like, you know, can manually line it or you could do it automatically. But, you know, they have turntables. So I'm assuming that they're pretty active in, you know, making their blends and chopping stuff and like blending songs together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean, I guess it is what it is. I don't know.
I'm not trying to take anything away from them.
Well,
but
I'll take some stuff away from them. Well, I mean, no. I mean, like their thing is they do what they do well. It's really just not my cup of tea. You know, is all it is. It's like I like people who can improvise their shit. You know.
Yeah.
I like people who, you know, write their own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of stuff I respect. I like people who you can tell they're putting their sweat into it, you know? Like I saw this thing with Moby the other day. And like someone like went to his house and like he was like asking to see all the synthesizers and drum machines he has.
Yeah.
Cuz like Moby's like one of the first guys to really like get big with drum machines and synthesizers, like, you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
You know, I mean, I guess maybe not at least in the 90s, like one of the big ones, you know, at least.
Okay.
But anyway, so he's got a shit ton, you know, and like he was talking about why he didn't like the computers synthesizers, you know, how you, and he was saying like he liked collecting weird ones, like just random ones because like, and he liked the ones that were used because he could tell like someone sweat on them and like, you know, was like carrying them around from show to show and like stuff like that. You know, he felt like a tangible connection to it. Yeah. And I kind of, you know, as much as sometimes Moby's songs annoy me, he does have that one album Play that's really good, I think. Okay. And I think he has like a point there. Yeah. Like there's like a certain musicality in that connection, that like romanticism of the, you know what I mean? Like if you're just like kind of,
but I feel like I can see it from both angles because, you know, like I know people who produce music, you know, on like I know people who sample records, you know, directly. I know people who, you know, sample digitally, and I know people who have kind of like the in between where they're on a machine or pad.
Well, when you said directly, MPC. You mean by vinyl?
Yeah, like they'll like loop in vinyl cuts. Yeah. And I honestly don't really like, if you give me the finished product, you know what I mean? I don't feel like how you start necessarily determines how your finished product will be. You know what I mean? Like you could start, you know, just going directly to like sampling digitally and it can sound better than somebody trying to make like a similar beat sampled on the vinyl. It all depends on like your creativity, and like what you feel most comfortable on. Yeah, you know,
I agree with that.
Because like honestly, I'm not too big a stickler on what your methodology for your music is. Because I know that you're like a analog fiend.
Well, I mean, I see digital has a role, but I think analog is. I appreciate it better. I think it's more complex.
Yeah, but I feel like in the real world, like oftentimes you got to do like a cost benefit analysis. Yeah, and it's like it's like sometimes the gains you get from going analog might be worth, you know, tracking down the equipment, you know, having
it's more work.
You know, getting everything together, running it, and you know, taking the time to do it like that. And sometimes you could get, you know, something comparable, if not better, by doing it digitally, because it gives you more flexibility. because you have, like if you have you have a whole bunch of digital synthesizers, versus an analog synthesizer, you can change synthesizers, you know what I mean? So you have more options.
I mean, you're right, like that the digital synthesizers, you have a lot more options, but I also think the digital synthesizers are, the problem with them is that you're kind of limited, and other computers have the same synthesizers on them, right? So there's a lot of different things you can do within the limits, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the sound you make on your PC is going to sound the same as another PC, right?
Well, that's the same problem with the synth.
Right,
it's a synth. It's not like a guitar.
Exactly. But that's the cool thing about what Moby was doing, was he's like goes out and he hunts the obscure synth that has that one like uniqueness to it,
Are you saying like a manufacturer error or something where it sounds funky or something? Any synth that's not the exact same as another synth is going to sound different. And even the two that sound the exact same might sound different. Yeah. Because like the thing is, it just has to do with like oscillators, you basically every time I pluck the string of my guitar, it's going to sound different. Like they're going to have a different texture to it. There's no way to play it the same way twice. It's like the snowflake analogy. But like that could be said about digital too. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you play two digital files twice, is it the exact same?
Yeah, it will, because like the thing is your computer creates the same oscillation every time.
Yeah, but do your speakers
frequency
produce the same oscillation every time?
Well, I guess there will be a slight difference, but it'll be a lot more slight than you would get with different synthesizers.
But also something that you got to consider too is like, it's not like when you play a synth that's the end, you know what I mean? You can make those tweaks. Because if those differences in oscillation between one synth to another can be a slight pitch tweak, it could be, a slight timing peak, it could be a lot of things. And what if I just like altered them, because like you rarely hear like unmodified synth sounds. Yeah. Like people just are like, all right, I'm going to EQ out the low ends.
Well, I mean, the thing is, that's kind of my issue also with a lot of what a lot of producers do. Like they make when they make their tracks wet, because like the effects that they put on it are, again, something that you can get on any computer,
Yeah, but it's not going to be the same.
A lot of times it sounds like kind of similar to me is all.
Not really, man, because
I mean, I think it does. Like
Darvan's kicks, like that he makes compared to Tarzan's kicks, don't sound anything alike. I mean, they both start off as kick drums. You know what I mean?
To me, they have like similar textures, though.
Yeah, because they're both kick drums.
I mean, but I guess maybe if you put them side by side, we could. I haven't really listened to it side by side like that.
I think there's something to be said by the fact that I can play a beat produced by a certain producer, and I could tell who it is without knowing who produced it. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm with you on that, but I mean,
like there's character in each one.
The thing is, I like to have a little bit more breadth, though. I feel like you're still kind of limiting yourself, like.
I think that the permutations on, like, even if you had a synth that only had a couple sounds, like let's say like you could only do a couple sounds digitally, the amount of permutations when you add effects is almost endless, because you can add
many different levels of effects. Right? And you can do like 89% of this and like 98% of that, and like. So yeah, I mean, you keep it keeps multiplying, and you end up getting like millions like of different things you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, like, I don't know. The thing about it is, it's just it's hard to explain, because it's like almost like the way that it affects the oscillation is so. There's like a lot of pattern to it, if that makes sense. Like it's like, okay, so you know what overtones are?
Yeah.
So like we've talked about overtones. Like so overtones are like, and there's like when an oscillator oscillates, right? Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a perfect oscillator. So what'll happen is like if you have a certain frequency, essentially what happens is eventually there's like going to be little different. It's hard to explain like without drawing it out. Basically, you have frequencies on top of the main note that cause the texture, right? So like if you have a frequency of 100 hertz, you'll have an overtone of 200 hertz, and then another overtone of 300, another overtone of 500 or whatever. Yeah. And like depending on what those overtones are is what the texture it sounds like. That's what makes the difference between a D note on a trumpet and a D note on a piano. Yeah. Right? Anyways, all right, so what a lot of times the effects do is it modulates all of the overtones in the same way. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it kind of like pushes it all like in a like straight line and like sometimes like diagonally and like, you know what I mean, and zigzag.
But you see, the other thing too is like there are effects that emulate analog
it
effects.
Tries to, but the thing is like you can never get perfect. Like
I mean, you can never get perfect.
I mean, like I said, there's a role for digital, like what you're saying, the easy accessibility. Yeah. But I still prefer the analog is all because analog has that certain like extra bit of randomness, you know, that little bit of chaos that I don't know. I like that.
You see, I do and I don't. Like I think that it depends on the song and it depends like cuz if you have like cuz I know what you mean, like if you make, you know, digital music, most of the time your beats per minute are perfect, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I think that's maybe the biggest criticism I could say. Like, you know, they're played perfect. You know, every kick is on beat. I mean, and you can, you know, introduce, you know, variants. You can do that. But, you know, most people choose not to.
Well,
you know what I mean?
How do you like, because it seems like, are you saying you're coming around to like the drummers who change their pace?
No, not really.
Okay.
But I don't know, because like there's a lot of people who record with, you know, with metronomes, so that they can be perfect.
Well, yeah, no, the thing is, like, a lot of bands have done that over, like, Nirvana's first album, Nevermind, first album they had with Dave Grohl, I remember hearing Dave Grohl needed a metronome. Yeah. And the thing is, like, sometimes I think it's good. Like, I think if your song is supposed to be a consistent pace, then you should try to have a consistent pace. Yeah. But there are some times where speeding up can give you an intensity. Yeah. You know, and you can do that as a producer, obviously. I just think producers maybe are a little less likely to, you know?
I don't know. I feel like there's so many options and styles in music. Yeah. Like, I feel like like ideally you want to kind of have both a little bit, you know what I mean? Because nothing. I don't know. Like I feel like agree. Sliding too far either way can probably put you into a box unnecessarily.
Definitely.
I feel like there's different things for different songs, and there's a lot of ways to do different effects. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can create intensity by speeding up, but you can also create it by like screaming or something. So it's all about like what's best and what suits your creativity.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think what I like the best is when bands juxtapose digital and analog.
Because you liked Plastic Beach.
Yeah.
And Plastic Beach is like super synthetic.
Yeah, but there's also analog there, you know? I mean, they had the members of The Clash playing.
Yeah, but...
And like they were singing, which is analog.
But what I'm saying is like most of the beats like...
It's their most disco album, I think.
But it was so many synthesizers. Like everything was synths. All the drums were like synths and everything. It's just
didn't they have some drums that were?
I don't think so.
I thought I saw them play it live and there was a drummer. I don't know, but I understand.
Live
it's not important.
Is different, though.
I understand your point. Like you know, I think like I said, it has. You can't go too far to one end. I think we're in agreement on that. Like, it's good to have both, you know? You shouldn't restrict yourself. Like, if you want to like make an analog album but there's a digital sound that you can't achieve with your analog, then you should play the digital sound. And the same thing goes the other way around, you know what I mean?
Most dope.
Because, like, you know, there's definitely certain things you can't replicate digitally. Like, you can't replicate the way I play slide guitar. And you can't replicate the way Parker plays normal guitar, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're a good guitarist, you can't replicate it digitally.
Yeah,
You know? So...
Well, but yeah, I think you're right about that, because it's just like... Yeah, I think you're right. But... Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
but, yeah. So, I guess we've resolved that issue.
Yeah, we did.
I think we should try to fight about something now, Michael.
I don't know. There's nothing to fight about. We need more estrogen. Without estrogen, we just kind of get along. We're like,
yeah, I mean,
it's too easy.
Yeah, I suppose that. Maybe we're scaring off all the girls. I was gonna get Lael to come here
the
today.
The one girl who listens to the podcast.
Well, I think Dory wanted to come through today. Just she has her family to hang out with. Shout out to Dory's family.
Yeah, white people. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me be politically correct. Yeah, Team clear people.
Clear people.
Yeah.
White people. You know, I saw 12 Years a Slave the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was interesting.
I did not see that movie, so I guess I get my black card revoked.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not that big of a deal.
I don't know. You're not allowed to, as a black person, to not like black works. It's just like,
yeah,
you feel pressure to like Tyler Perry, even though he's terrible. Was it a black guy who
made it? I thought it was a British guy. I'm not sure.
I mean, it might have been a British guy, but it's a film about, you know, slavery. Yeah, it's like the Schindler's list of slavery or black people. I don't know. Yeah, but I'm not that big of like, I'm not that into movies. Yeah, I mean, I was watching. I don't know why. I was so stressed out that night, man. I had like a bunch of homework to do, and I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna watch this and I'll do the homework. That movie stressed me out so bad because it's so depressing. Like, there's like no uplifting moment in the whole, like, even when he gets freed. Spoiler: he gets freed. Obviously, because it's called 12 Years a Slave, not forever. But like when he gets freed, it's like it's still sad as shit. It's like, well, there goes that 12 years. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? There's no happiness. No getting back.
Yeah, it's just sad. You know, the whole, and it's so weird. Like, I don't know. It was interesting because they had music play a pretty big role in it. Like, there were like, you know, a lot of like kind of spirituals. Like, like people going, you know, like just like that humming thing that black people are so good at. Yeah.
Yo, yesterday at work, my coworker asked me, yo, are you and Dexter funny because you're black? And I was like, I don't know how to respond to that.
No, we're black because we're funny.
Yeah, like I just kind of like looked at her like she was crazy, and she kind of dropped it.
Was she joking?
I have no idea. I don't know what that was meant to like. I have no idea what she meant by that. I don't know if she was joking or if she was serious or both or some mixture.
Yeah. I mean, I think black people have a funniness to them. I think any culture. Like, the Jews used to be really funny because they had gone through a bunch of really terrible stuff. Yeah. And, you know, you kind of have to address it a lot in public. But you don't really want to make it that big of a deal. Like, if you're a Jewish child in the 60s and someone asks you about the Holocaust, you'll probably try to laugh it off. You know? Because you don't want to just, like, get really depressed all the time. Yeah, you know?
That's true.
And I think black people have a similar experience these days. And I think Jews are less funny now because they aren't experiencing... Like, my parents were not... I mean, my dad maybe was a little persecuted, like in Miami Beach. Yeah. He told me he lived in Miami Beach back in like the 50s and 60s. Yeah. And he said, like, and when he went to like Walgreens or like the pharmacy, there was like a sign that said "No niggers or Jews." Oh, wow. Which is like pretty fucking hardcore. Yeah. You know, like if you're, you know, a boy back then, you just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know why I'm not supposed to go there, but you just don't, you don't really understand it. And the weird thing is my grandfather, his dad, had a Confederate flag, like bumper sticker on his car. Yeah. Like in the 50s. And then in the 60s, like he said the Confederate flag kind of changed its meaning. Yeah. Which is weird because I feel like it originally had a terrible meaning. It's like it changed to something less.
I don't understand that at all.
The Confederate flag thing.
Yeah, it was like a war over slaves, but it's not only that. It was like, the people who fought the war didn't own slaves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
a lot of the people who died in the Civil War were slaves.
That's true too. You know what I mean? But a lot of them, like probably the majority, were poor white people who didn't have slaves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was only like a minority of white people. Like you have to be incredibly wealthy to have a slave.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And
a human being is not a cheap thing to have.
And it was a pretty fucked up war too.
It was.
Like you realize like how fucked up the American South was. Like if it had won that, like it was like they were trying to basically start like a fascist, government, like a government based on demagoguing, you know what I mean? And also on corporatism.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Like, but I mean, I guess the point is like if the South had won, the South would be so fucked up right now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the whole Civil War thing kind of bothers me because there's such a huge misconception about how it went down.
Oh, word.
Like, first of all, Abraham Lincoln was a cunt.
Yeah,
okay?
He was.
Like, anyone who thinks that he was like, he freed the slaves.
Yeah.
First of all, he did not write the 13th Amendment. The radical Republicans did. He just brought it back up towards the end of the war. And everyone kind of thought that it was coming up anyways.
Yeah.
Second of all, he did not want black people to be equal. He wanted them to move away. His viewpoint was that black people came to America in an unfortunate way. It wasn't their fault, obviously. Yeah. And that they should get out now.
Yeah.
He wanted to move them to the Caribbean. He tried like some South America and supposedly back to Africa, like to Liberia, because Liberia had existed at that point.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, was the kind of like American colonialism. Like we set up a state in Africa where we sent a lot of former slaves. So that, we're kind of responsible for their fucked up politics right now. But anyways, that's besides the point. Abraham Lincoln fucked it up hardcore. You know, anyone, it just kind of bothers me whenever people think of him as like this great man, but like really he fucked up.
I mean, everyone fucked up. I mean, if you hear in history about, some infallible leader, it's probably not true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just the fact that you're a leader,
makes you fallible.
makes like, it just opens you up to temptation. Mm-hmm. And, we're humans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, leaders do fucked up shit with their power because we're human beings. Like
the Civil War, beyond just like the misconceptions about the North, we could talk all day about, we live in the South right now. Yeah. And the people in the South do not understand the Civil War at all. Like they don't get that the Civil War, for one, was not about like state rights. It was about state rights
slavery.
For slavery.
Yeah, it was
state
slavery.
Rights to do what? Slavery. That's what it was. Like, and second of all, it was a failed revolution. Yeah. And the South was completely decimated.
Yes, it was.
Their economy fell apart. Like Atlanta burned down. You know what I mean? Like it's like there aren't any buildings older than the Civil War in Atlanta. I mean, there's probably a few, but like it's not as many as there should be. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there are the fucking Atlanta is so strange, man. Like speaking of like racism.
Atlanta is strange.
Like,
old city though.
Atlanta's demographics are so different from how they were 50 years ago because of the Great White Flight.
Oh, word.
Like, have you've heard about this?
Yeah, Detroit kind of had that same thing too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like most cities in America had that, especially cities in the South. Like once segregation was over and black people could move wherever they wanted, like the wealthier black people would try to move into white neighborhoods, right? Yeah. And that freaked white people the fuck out, and they moved away like immediately, and those neighborhoods became kind of reverse gentrified, if that makes sense.
Well, how do you think that gentrification is like? I kind of feel like in a lot of cases it's the same fears that white people had when black people moved in. Like I know it's obviously different, but like I was listening to this news story of like on NPR of like this black person who's living in, I think, like Harlem, talking about like how like the white people are moving in, and like it's like less and less black people, and she's like, you know, we were here first, and stuff, and it was like, man, I was like, I wonder like how, if like it was like a white person saying that same thing, you know,
it would look terrible.
It would look terrible. And it's just like, why is it a tragedy, you know, that when it goes that way? You know what I mean?
Well, were you gonna say something?
No, it's the
I mean, it's like, I think the point is that they're trying to preserve their culture.
Yeah.
So, you know, I kind of empathize with that. However, they don't really have the right to claim that area. Like, you know, I mean, keep in mind, Harlem was not always black. You know, Harlem became black during like the migration of black people after the Civil War up north. So, you know, I understand they want to keep it, but, and like they have the same argument with Brooklyn, you know, like, but like keep in mind, Brooklyn isn't 100% black either, you know, like there's a lot of Jews there, you know, and like I'm sure, you know, did you heard about Spike Lee like getting mad at gentrification in Brooklyn?
Where
he had like he was like saying like all this stuff, he's like driving property values up and all this and that, like getting,
well,
you know,
I mean, like if you look at it like from an economics perspective, like the only reason that it happened like that is because like the city landscape ended up being the way it was is because of the point in time at which the automobile came around, because like those should be the most, you know, valuable, you know, areas in the city, you know, because they're like apparently like in the city, you know what I mean? But everybody wanted to live in a suburb and like commute into town, so you know, black people ended up being in like downtown of all these cities, and you know, white people were like in the suburbs of the city, and they were driving in. But like, you know, as the car becomes more and more expensive, the cities are more and more packed. Like it's like the like if you look at Europe, it's like the opposite, you know, like white people are in the cities and like the minorities are in the suburbs, so they can't afford the prices. It's basically gonna go to like that. It's
direction.
Gonna flip over because, you know, people want to be, it makes more sense, it's more economical to be close to everything, you know. And what
also,
I mean?
You know, I feel like Spike Lee should be flattered that white people want to learn about black culture.
Well, it's not necessarily like, I understand it too, because like in a lot of these cities, man, it's just so expensive to live, like to live there.
And I guess if your family's been there a while and all of a sudden you can't afford the rent,
if you can't afford to live there, like it's basically like a lot of people just don't have any options because you know, like they can't afford the rent because it's super high. And it's like, but the city at the same time needs these people too, because like somebody has to work the low wage jobs too. So I mean, it's complicated. It's a complicated issue. So I don't know how that's gonna work itself out. Like I don't know
either.
If that's something that the government should like ensure some kind of like housing standards, or
maybe,
if that makes things more complicated, you know. I mean,
I do not think Obama will be able to do that. But
well, that's not like
be more on a state level.
That's not. I was saying like at a state or local level. Like
that's true.
You wouldn't want the federal government to do that because it's way too specific.
The federal government puts so much red tape up whenever they do anything.
Well, I think
they kind of have to, because like it's just too much. Like they have to expand so far.
The weird thing about the federal government is I feel like if you read every bill that gets passed, it's like 90% net positive, but the 10% that isn't positive
fucks up everything.
It just fucks up everything. It's like
a cancer that spreads.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's just been like with every bill, you know, that's been 10% evil, 10% evil. Like the evil has just been like slowly accumulating into the laws, and like the subtle bullshit that they tag into like a larger bill that overall is a positive, you know what I mean? It just fucks everything up, because like so many interests are sneaking in legislation to give them like different advantages. You know what
I mean, they do that all the time. Like they'll have a bill about like renaming the post office, and they'll sneak into it like funding for Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it's like they have nothing to do. Like they always come up with some wacky like justification for the two things. But
well, it's to a certain extent, you know what I mean? Like there's a limited amount of times that they can vote, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but still,
yeah,
it's fuckery. But
yeah, it is fuckery. It's total fuckery.
Yeah, but like back to like what you were saying about, we were talking about gentrification. Like I think, you know, it's kind of a natural process because like America's really changing. Like I feel like we're finally reaching the point where racism is kind of becoming a not something that anybody can just casually say, even in like, so you have your Bill O'Reilly's who has like coded racism, but even he's getting marginalized now. I think our generation, like once we're grandparents, you know, like I don't think anyone in my generation is really okay with racism. Like there's a couple people in like my redneck town of Naples that are like a little racist, but I just think like it's becoming fewer and fewer, and they don't outwardly say they're racist. They're, you know, they just are.
I think that outward racism is not the problem that we're facing. I think that the problem, I say we're facing, but like it's not. There's not really a we. Just to be clear,
you mean,
but like,
hey man,
well, you know what I mean.
I don't
like
get racism that much.
I mean, like, not to say that, you know. Well, basically, I'll get to my point. And that is that, like, there's racism is taboo, but one of the big problems is there's this thing called own race bias. And basically, to sum it up in short, you treat members of your own race better. You remember them better. Like, you empathize with them better. Like, all this stuff, right? So people don't feel that they're racist, you know what I mean? Yeah. But when they hire a white guy, you know, it's just that instead of the black guy, because, you know what I mean, they just, you know, have like the black guy, like the white guy better, and they legitimately, they didn't pick
black
him,
people.
because it's fuck black people.
Just
it's
in
just
their
like
head, they think, hey, he'll probably do a better job,
or honestly, they're more like them. You know what I mean? Like they're probably
can relate to them.
Yeah, relate to them more.
It'd be like getting mad at someone for picking, like, if you happen to be, I don't know, a professional bowler. Yeah. And like you're the guy who's going to work on your car also used to be a professional bowler. You might go back to him. But I mean, it's kind of more fucked up because you choose to be a professional bowler. You don't choose to be white or black. Yeah.
But like the thing that ends up happening is, like, you know, when every individual is making choices like that, over the whole, you know, you see like it trends towards, you know, to like
poverty.
Yeah, and, you know, and it just so happens that, you know, the people who own everything are white males. Yeah. So they tend to like promote white males, and that's, you know, this is the same kind of thing that leads to like disparities between, you know, women in the workplace. It's just like, if you're a white man,
you're gonna want another white man.
You're gonna promote another white guy
unless you're like being conscious about it. And like the thing is, you're giving a very good point for affirmative action.
Awareness of that, you know, if you tell someone the facts that I told you, it does make them more likely to, you know, pick more fairly. Right.
To cognitively be like, oh shit, maybe I'm doing it because he's white. Let me take another moment to reevaluate this.
Exactly.
Totally. And, you know, that's what affirmative action, I think, is trying to accomplish.
Yeah, but the problem is that, like, a lot of, like, white people, I keep saying white people, it's not just a white people problem, but, like, people in general, they're like, all right, I'm not racist, so, like, I shouldn't have to, you know, do affirmative action. Like, that's not fair. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Whenever someone says that they're not racist to me, I just think, like, you're racist. You shouldn't even have to say that, like...
I mean, they're not racist. That's not... But, like, the problem isn't that we have, you know, a lot of people who are just overtly racist. That's not the problem. The problem is that, you know, minorities just aren't getting equal opportunity. And it's hard to portray that to people who aren't, you know... Yeah. From your race, and it's just like
it's a broader thing. It's like a statistical thing that you have to be aware of, you know. It's like you have to be aware that black people have like double the unemployment rate of white. You know, just like it's like a lot larger. Black people are more likely to get incarcerated. Black people are
longer jail sentences.
Yeah, like the list goes on. There, it's harder for them to get I heard this study where they sent a bunch of resumes to different like employers, and literally they were the exact same resume except for like the race,
the name,
the name or the race or however what have you,
like,
and they
black names get lower callback rates, like just in callbacks, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like if you have a black name, like it's
tough.
It's tough.
And it's fucked up to me because like it's so strange to me because every black person I meet seems like they're trying way harder than white people to prove themselves. Yeah. Because white people, like, just by nature of being white, people think that they're professional. You know what I mean? Like, if I grew out a beard and long hair as a white guy, all I would have to do is tie my hair back and people think I look professional. Yeah. But you as a black person, if you grew out your beard and grew out your afro, and you try to get a job, like they're not gonna think you look professional. You'd have to wear a fucking really nice suit. Like you really would have to compensate, you know. It's just kind of fucked up to me because like I said, like I think I heard Oprah say this once. She said that like black people are always trying really hard to like prove themselves, and white people just feel like they already have proved themselves.
I mean, like another thing that I've come to notice is just like I watch a lot of episodes of like Shark Tank and shit. And
Shark Tank.
It's like basically the show where people, you know, they have their businesses and shit, and like they try and get these investors like to basically buy a part of their company, to basically invest in their company. And it's just like so many of them like ask their families and friends and like take out mortgages on their house to start their business, you know what I mean? Yeah. And there's like never any black people on the show. Like I saw one or two black people, and I watched like a ton of episodes.
Wait, like one or two black people who were trying to get invested, or who were asked to get to invest in?
Who were asking for investments. Oh, so right. they're the owners, and what I really think it is that like even if you have an idea or something and you're like I have an innovation and you know have the drive to start a business, I feel like there's no one that I could go to that's black that has money to invest in.
No, yeah, that's a huge part of it. I know a lot of rich people.
Anything. Yeah, like even in the hood where it's only black people. Yeah, like black people don't own any of the businesses. Yeah. They're all like liquor stores and fucking and fucking hair salons and barbershops and like. That's it.
Black people live in a different world than white people.
There's no grocery stores. Yeah. There's no banks.
Like people
there's
don't.
No,
totally.
There's no shit, and like people are like, man, they're not like. It's just a different world, man.
It really is. Like there's certain places that are getting better, but like this is how it's been in like the American city for a long time. Like I was hearing David Simon, the creator of The Wire, talking about this. Like he was like the whole point of The Wire was to showcase what is happening in that other world that people like white people just drive through and ignore and like oh yeah, there's like lots of drugs and murders here, but that's just how it is here, and like you know what I mean. And he was pointing out the fact that you know their zip code has to do with the resources allocated to them by the government. So like we were talking about this in the last podcast, like if you get a murder in the inner city, you're less likely to get it investigated than in the suburbs. And David Simon was like, he made this show about Baltimore, and like one of his like friends was like, wow, Baltimore's really fucked up. And he was like, aren't you from the outskirts of Cleveland? Yeah. Like, for real. What do you think is happening on the inside of Cleveland? Like the exact
real.
same
it's
shit.
It's like everywhere, man.
Like, you just don't understand. Like,
I don't think people understand like the food thing for real, man. Like that, like if you don't have a car, like, you know, and there's no food stores for you like within miles, you know what I mean? Yeah. And with shitty public transportation, like you're in like a food vacuum, and just like getting, you know, like nutrition is like a mission. Yeah,
it is. Like it's just two different worlds. Like it's so fucking crazy. You know, I will say though, like one city that I think is getting better is Atlanta, which is a surprise for the South. Like in terms of like the whole black and like, because I really think in Atlanta, black people are much more likely to have like wealth and like to have friends who have wealth.
Well, I think Miami's pretty good too, depending on where you are. I mean, I think it changes from like area to area, but I think like as a whole, I think Miami's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But but it's a majority minority too.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
That's also
well, so
like,
I mean, most American cities are like that in the actual city.
Yeah, that's true too.
But like, yeah.
But I feel like it's still like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Like
I feel like that's almost like the place where you gotta live, man. Because it's like if you live like in the country as like a minority, it's just like that just seems like a bad idea.
Well, it's weird because like I was kind of talking to Sung about this. Sung is Dory's roommate.
Yeah, I know who
roommate.
Sung is.
Yeah, just but like he was talking about how in Korea it's like a collectivist culture, right?
Yeah.
So there, like your social status affects the way you talk. It's like a high context society, right? Is what they call it.
Yeah.
So like your dad will use different words, different language than someone, a child, or like and not just your dad, but your dad's boss will have different words than your dad. Like your status has to do affects the way you talk.
You pronounce words. Yeah.
Exactly. And in America, we're a low context society. Right, for the most part, at least in the cities, which is surprising to me because I always thought the cities were collectivist, but when you get right down to it, they're more individualist. Yeah, just not in their politics. But anyways, the point is, in the cities, like what you say, it has nothing to do with much less to do with how you are socially. Yeah. But in the country, however, which is a more community collectivist based society in America, especially in the South, who you are affects the way you talk. Right? Yeah. So who you are, people are going to make judgments on you. So this person could not even be racist, right? Necessarily. But he might see you and he might see the way you look, right? Mm-hmm. And he'll have these judgments. So maybe this does count as racism in a way. Yeah. Because he'll make these judgments. He'll see that even if you're a decently dressed black man, he associates black men with people who are in a lower economic status, and therefore makes judgments about what you do and everything from there on out. But in Miami, you don't have that problem. You don't have that problem in Atlanta. What you say has nothing to do with your merits. If you can turn a phrase, that's all that matters. Yeah. Which I kind of respect that. I
don't know, but I feel like that's kind of everywhere too. Because, if you look at somewhere like Britain, that's, it's majority white, you know what I mean? Yeah. Even there, if you're high class, you have that super British accent that's super proper.
Let's go to the country right now, Reginald.
That was terrible. That was terrible.
It was pretty bad. Let's maybe eat some caviar and drink some champagne.
They have that super high class.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Prince Charles
but if you're if you're a punk or something, you know what I mean? You have this
Cockney accent.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't pronounce your vowel very well.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's you can still tell within a moment of speaking to someone, what their social rung is. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that there's that's almost unescapable here.
Yeah, that's something that you can track in any society around the world.
And even though, there's a lot of professors, here that talk country, man, you just automatically feel like they're stupider, bro. And I hate it because so many people on YouTube, even people who are from the South, it's when they're representing some crazy creationists, they go into their country accent and the Bible says,
the Bible doesn't say that their sky was made by Jesus Christ.
I always hate that because it's just you're just it's you're countryist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hate when people do that so much.
Well, I mean, I like well-spoken Southern folk, and I know some, they're out there.
Yeah, they are.
But I agree. Well, I mean, the South has got so many fucking problems. It needs to.
It does.
This is what pisses me off the most about the South. It's their
lack
problems.
Of infrastructure.
Their problems are the exact things that they're causing their own problems. Is what I'm trying to say. For instance, a huge part of why the South is so economically fucked up right now is the Civil War.
Yeah,
residual effects from the Civil War, and they still want the South to rise again. It's do you understand how fucked up the South would be?
It is.
If we had another revolution,
It
like,
is.
it's
Like,
let's not even play that game. Like, it's stupid.
But I mean, people just don't. People just. I think one of the biggest problems is that, you know, the history you learn in school is just like it's like you reading Candyland version of history. You know what I mean? Like they gloss over like all of the real, you know, actual tough issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you read your history books, like they don't give you a 12 years of slave impression of the time period.
They don't.
They give you like an impression of like, oh yeah, there were slaves, but they you know, they got over it, and
it's more
and
of
they're
a Lincoln.
free now.
It's
you
more
know
of
what
a
I mean?
Lincoln,
Yeah, it's just like, you're like what the fuck?
You're right.
You know, but when you start looking at history, you know, from any time period, especially like modern history, like there's not like we very rarely reflect on like the actual truths of history.
People are
and the
fucking
lessons.
stupid, man.
And so people have a warped perception of reality because they just don't know, you know, what it like how history really happened. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, it's there's just been a lot of secondhand
like,
jive. You know, like a lot of people like you know. Saying what they read and saying it wrong, like they
and like when people are like, the moral fabric of this country is going to hell, and I'm like, what time period was the moral fabric of the country better than it is now,
woven into a beautiful quilt?
Yeah, and I'm just like, when was this? I need some fucking years here.
Yeah, like
because you know, I'm pretty sure any year you could possibly bring up, I would be a second class citizen at the very least. Let's not talk about women or like, you know, Jews or anything like that. Let's just we you know,
I know what
list.
you mean. Like dude, what Louis C.K. was saying, that we mentioned it before, but he had that joke on SNL. It was like, it's like, women have only been able to vote for 94 years. American democracy is only 94 years old. There are people in my building older than American democracy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's really how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if women can't vote, that's like more than half of the population.
I think it's less than half.
I think it's 51% because men like die because they kill themselves.
Well, they do. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
men
that.
do more dangerous stuff and they kill each other.
Oh, I know that more men are born. I think it has to do with even though more men don't make it through term, like, you know, because they don't have as much backups on their DNA. Apparently, you know, scientists think that since the Y is lighter, it gives them like males a slight advantage.
Yeah.
So like a little bit more of them make it to the egg because they're faster.
Yeah.
Carrying less weight.
How much time have we got?
We're getting pretty close to the end.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's just America is, there's so much ignorance, like what you were saying before about the way we teach history.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
it's frustrating.
Well, I mean, in my fifth grade class, I grew up in a more southern town, like in Lakeland, Polk County, which is like one of the most southern parts of Florida. Not like south by, you know, direction, but just like by culture.
Like by culture,
Yeah. In Polk County. And my teacher in fifth grade had a portrait of Robert E. Lee on the wall.
Oh my God.
Like a prominent one, you know?
Yeah.
And like she would like, you know, almost like kind of talk to him sometimes, you know, like Robert E. Lee, you know, like, oh, what a good guy and all this stuff. Like, and like she would always say, like, you know, he was against slavery. He just wanted the South to be free. And like, you know, even if he was, like, he wasn't.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He would, like, you know what I mean? That's like saying, like, yeah, Martin Luther King was racist, but you know, like, you know,
Hitler was racist, but he just wanted what was best for his people.
Right, or something like that. Like, just like you're kind of like looking past like what they actually did. Like, you know, if Martin Luther King was racist, let's say, right? Like, let's say he hated white people, it still wouldn't matter because what he did was he, you know, tried to free black people, right?
Well,
and like the words that he said were the ones that were most important. My point is, whether or not Robert E. Lee was racist is completely incidental, and I'm sure he was racist.
Yeah,
there's no fucking doubt. Like, nobody would be for slavery, or at least fight for slavery, unless they were kind of okay with it.
All right, fuck the ending of the podcast. Here's something that has to be asked, because I've talked to this with another friend of mine.
Okay, we can always cut out the beginning, anyways.
No, that's cool. But one thing I want to ask you is, what's more important? Like, is a person's intentions like more important, or is it the results? You know what I mean? Like, if I intend to do something good and I'm really trying to do something good and it ends up causing something terrible to happen, is that more important than if I was trying to do something evil and it resulted in something good happening?
That's an interesting question. I guess it would probably
how much
the intentions
do you weigh
are less important, I would say.
intentions?
But sometimes it matters, because like the thing is, my viewpoint on the word nigger has to do with intentions in my view. Like, I just said it and it feels weird coming out of my mouth, but obviously I'm not saying it in a malicious way. I'm just talking about the word.
Yeah.
But if I was to use it in a malicious way, like an intentive malicious, like intention of a malicious way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, then that would be bad. Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with if you were to say Jew. Like, if you were like, Zach, you're a Jew, I'm like, yeah, you're right, I'm a Jew. But if you were like, Zach's such a Jew, you know what I mean? Or it's like, Zach Jewed me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you meant it, like, then I'd get annoyed. Yeah. Right. Like, so, and I think like with language, intention is a lot more to do with like than how people react. However, how people react to, like, when you're on a media level, like, for instance, I think what I'm saying is, on a media level, it's more important how they react to it. So, like, The Daily Show.
Yeah.
They set out to be fake and not provide people news.
Yeah.
But now they're like journalists now. Like, they do field reports. Like they actually get information that I didn't know. And I read a lot of news. At least I like to think I do. I feel like they actually bring light to certain issues that
they do.
Like, they probably have more news in their half hour than CNN has in 24 hours.
Yeah, CNN is the most terrible thing ever. I
it's
watch
pretty
it
fucking
every day.
bad.
It's pretty terrible.
And you want to kill yourself. No, but so like in that respect, I think your audience, like, or how it's received is might be more important than the intention.
Let me pose a hypothetical.
Okay.
If you're George Bush.
Okay.
And
George W.
And you honestly believe that invading Afghanistan and Iraq is the right move to free America from terrorists, right? And let's assume that he honestly believes that he made all of the correct decisions,
right? And
is it more important that he was trying his best to protect America, or is it more important that the outcome?
I think the outcome, because you could obviously we can extend it even further to Hitler, because obviously he thought he was doing what was right for Germany, but fuck him, man. He also was trying to do what was worst for Jews. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so like, you have to think about the intentions as a part of it, like why did the intentions lead to that? So like I though, just to address the question better, like, so George Bush, his intention was to free Americans from slavery, let's say that, or slavery, from terrorism.
From terrorism, yeah.
And like, if that was his intention, but he overlooked what it would do to the Afghani people or the Iraqi people, right? Then his intention's still fucked up, and you should keep that in play. However, if his intention was to not fuck with the Iraqis and not fuck with the Afghanis, but only fuck with the terrorists, and he thought nothing bad would happen, as an intention like that, everything would become magical and free, and nobody innocent would ever get hurt, right? If that was his intention, and everybody got fucked up, right? He would still be wrong. Like, because the thing is, he's just being an idiot to think, he's just like, and you're making, your intentions are just ill-advised and stupid. Yeah. So, sometimes, like, I think intention is something that you should keep in mind, but I think the outcome is far more important on a large scale than the intention. On a large scale. On a small scale, maybe not, but on a large scale, like, you make the perfect example with politics, But I think if it's just like two guys talking, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say I'm trying to free you from mental terrorism, right? Like, you're getting mentally terrorized by yourself, right? So I come up to you and like I you're like alone, and I'm like, Michael, I'm your friend. I'm trying to like help you, get away from this mental terrorism. I have an idea. I'm going to do some acupuncture. I think that'll help you. I've read a lot about acupuncture. It frees people from mental terrorism.
Yeah.
Not sure how, but it does. It does. And magically.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then I do that to you, right?
Yeah.
In best intentions, and all of a sudden, like, I fuck it up, and you start bleeding all over the place, and it becomes worse. I don't think I'm necessarily a bad person for that, because, I was trying to make it good.
Make it better.
And maybe later on you would be like, well, it was an experience, maybe. But even if you didn't, like, and it just made it worse, I don't think I'm necessarily bad, but you, as Michael, have to deal with that now, and I should probably have to deal with it as well.
So let's say that you made a mistake, and it made me more of a mental prisoner, and I did something terrible to something. Like, as a direct result of your acupuncture, I went and stabbed someone, right?
Yeah.
Would that act of you doing the acupuncture be good or evil?
I guess you have to take a expected value, probably, because like at a certain point it kind of boils over, and like my intentions are outweighed by the outcome. So
all right. I was just wondering, man.
No, that's a good question.
It's a very interesting area, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you are doing like the right things for the wrong reason, you know what I mean? Like, what if like Dexter or something, like, like you kill serial killers, you know what I mean? Because you enjoy killing people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, at what point is your intention,
Yeah.
Or like your motivations, like,
yeah, I mean that's a problem I often have with some people. Like, they try to make the intention argument. Like, that's what I was saying with Robert E. Lee. It's like, do you really think his fucking intentions matter anymore? Like, no, it does. They don't. Like, what matters is what he did. Like, keep the South going. You know, and during the Confederacy, like, if it wasn't for Robert E. Lee, the South might have fallen a lot sooner.
This is true, man.
Because, like, I mean, supposedly Abraham Lincoln didn't even really consider the South much of a threat. Like, he was shocked when they actually, like, held their ground for as long as they did. Yeah. Like, he thought that he would just, like, maybe send a few boats and, like, it'd be over. You know what I mean? Like, but no, like, the South, like, stuck together and used guerrilla warfare tactics and all that kind of stuff, Yeah. But, like, I don't know. It's just... I just don't you got to pay attention to the outcome. Like, the outcome of the Civil War was fucking catastrophic, and people.
It was. I think
people overlook that so
war
much.
In which America had the most casualties out of all the wars.
Yeah, even more than World War II.
Yeah.
And there were a lot more people involved in World War II.
So yeah,
but like,
I think we should wrap it up here. Even though there's more things I want to ask you, I think we'll just
next time we should try and get some new people. We need some. If anyone's listening to this podcast and you have something interesting to say, you should come visit me, Zach.
We have an open mic for anyone.
You have anything? But if you try and talk and you're boring, I'm going to talk over you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I won't talk over you. I don't talk over you.
That'll be a deal. All right, guys. See you.
Never moved to my hood, 'cause danger is crawling out the wood. Bye, bye, bye.